Anthony Joshua retains his IBF World Heavyweight title with a 7th round knockout over the previously unbeaten challenger DOMINIC BREAZEALE. This fight allowed Joshua to showcase a lot more of his skills and talents, far more so than the Dillian Whyte fight. DOMINIC BREAZEALE didn't have the success in there that Dillian Whyte had in terms of offensive success, but he was very tough. He showed similar toughness to Whyte, and his size allowed Joshua to work on different things because BREAZEALE was maybe an inch or so taller than Joshua. He was very tough, and Joshua had to show, as I say, skills and abilities that he hasn't shown before. This gave him the opportunity to showcase it. Sorry if I'm repeating myself here, but there's not really much else I can say about the fight. Joshua was never really in any danger. I think there was one point where DOMINIC BREAZEALE managed to bloody Joshua's nose, which Joshua wasn't happy about. But yeah, AJ showed very good balance for a guy of his size. Very sharp punching, clean punching. He's not a guy that cuffs or slaps with shots. He punches very cleanly, Anthony Joshua. Let that be said about him. A very clean puncher, particularly for a big man like that. Yes, he was fighting a very slow, cumbersome heavyweight in DOMINIC BREAZEALE. So it's a lot easier to be accurate and punch cleanly when you're fighting somebody so slow and cumbersome. But nonetheless, there are plenty of heavyweights out there who still wouldn't have been, and I'm talking about top heavyweights, who still wouldn't have been punching as cleanly as Joshua did against DOMINIC BREAZEALE. So I felt like it was a good performance by Joshua. The opposition was what it was. DOMINIC BREAZEALE was a tough guy, and I felt going into the fight that BREAZEALE wouldn't go out like Charles Martin. I said that in pre-fight videos. I don't think I actually did a prediction for this fight, but I did do several pre-fight videos where I talked about DOMINIC BREAZEALE and his qualities as a fighter. And heart is something he's already shown. He showed that in the Amir Mansour fight, that he can get up off the canvas in a fight he was losing and still fire back punches. He wouldn't be, I knew he wouldn't be intimidated by anything Joshua hit him with, which he wasn't. He tried his hardest. He was obviously getting hurt in there and he was getting knocked about for the entirety of the fight. But while he was in there, he was trying. He did punch with Joshua a few times and tried to beat him to the right hand. But Joshua was just way too fast for him, way too athletic and way too skilled. His technique was too good. DOMINIC BREAZEALE was just in there to try his best, yes, but he was ultimately outclassed by Anthony Joshua. So DOMINIC BREAZEALE, no shame for his performance. He can hold his head high. He gave it a go. He tried his best. He definitely didn't disgrace himself the way his countryman Charles Martin did. So he can come again and maybe get some more fights within the top 10, top 15 against some other guys. This guy's not going to go on to be a great heavyweight or anything like that, DOMINIC BREAZEALE. But it is what it is. He showed toughness and he gave the people a show. A lot of people were worried that this fight might go early. I didn't know whether it was going to go early or not. I didn't know whether it would go a round or two, but I always knew that as long as BREAZEALE was in there, he would try his best. Remember, DOMINIC BREAZEALE was in the same Olympics as Anthony Joshua, so he's fought in front of big crowds before. That was never going to intimidate him. And as I say, he showed heart in the Mansour fight, so he was always going to try his best as long as he was there. But when the 7th round came and Joshua started connecting again, DOMINIC BREAZEALE went down once. He got back up, but he was in serious trouble. And he got overwhelmed by Joshua's finishing onslaught and put to the canvas for a second time. Joshua closed the show. So I felt it was a good performance by Joshua. Got to see some more movement from him. The jab, combinations and whatnot. And see him doing it against a taller opponent for a change. So yeah, I was happy with the way Joshua looked. Seems to be making progression. But stepping up from now, we're going to need to see even more from him. Again, putting him in there with the likes of Joseph Parker, possibly Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, David Hayes, going to need to up his levels again. But also in this fight, he wasn't taking a lot of punishment, that has to be said. So his stamina wasn't really tested. He looked very tired in the Dillian Whyte fight, particularly after getting rocked. So we'll have to watch for that again. If he ever gets rocked again, we need to see how he reacts in terms of does he stiffen up and whatnot like he did against Whyte. You know, plenty of questions still to be answered, but I think he maybe answered one or two in this fight. Let me know how you felt about Anthony Joshua's performance, and what did you make of Dominic Breazeale, the challenger? Limited, yes, but tough and brave, and gave it a go. So, yeah. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below, people. And, yeah, one more thing about Breazeale before I go. Another thing, which, you know, I'm very interested in psychology. In the build-up to this fight, Dominic Breazeale seemed like he was being himself. He seemed genuine. He didn't seem like he was trying to act like something he ain't. He seemed comfortable in his own shoes and comfortable with who he was, or with who he is. That was in stark contrast to Charles Martin. And I commented on this when I did a review of the gloves are off face-off between Joshua and Martin. I said that Martin seems to be acting. He's trying to act as though he's a cocky, arrogant guy when he's not. And you know what I always say, when somebody is acting out of character, that's when there's a problem. And I think we saw that with Charles Martin. Even on Charles Martin's Twitter, he was saying after the Joshua fight that his head wasn't in the fight and maybe he took the fight too soon. You know, so he was basically admitting that he wasn't there mentally. He wasn't ready mentally for that occasion. You know, whereas Breazeale was ready mentally for the occasion, as I expected him to be, but didn't have the skills, didn't have the ability. And you need the skills, you know, skills pay the bills. So with all that said, I'd like to hear from you guys and let me know what you think. All right, it's your boy Hatman, I'm out.